It's the first Inspiration Wednesday of 2017, and before I do anything, I thought I would just go over putting in an extra signature. So we did this year sell some with 2 signatures, some at 1. Some people like to do Inspiration Wednesday in 2 books. Some like to do the whole year in 1 book. It's just up to you. So the book, when you buy the book, it comes with 1 signature, and that's what this grouping of pages is, and it's already bound in the book. If you buy an extra signature, you will need a length of ribbon, and it just needs to be at more than 24 inches long. And then one of the signatures. So the signatures come pre-punched. If I can get it open here. You'll see they're already punched and lined up with the holes. You just have to thread the ribbon in and bind it. It's super simple binding. You will come through the back up here, if I can find it. Woohoo! And go up through all the pages, do the same thing on the other side, and then tie it through the middle. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'll time lapse, go through all the pages, and I know it probably would be easier to put on a needle, but I just find this way I know I'm getting through everything and take my time. There's an inclusion in between each page. The middle one kind of gets a little testy because you have all those little inclusions, but usually the end ones are super simple. So I'll just continue to go through all these. I'll do the same thing on the top, and then we'll take both ribbons and go down through the middle. So before we begin, let me talk a little bit about the cover. So the cover of this one was really, it was really ugly, and I was like, nobody is going to buy that one. It's so ugly. So I just gessoed it and stenciled over it and made it pretty. So before I go ahead and do anything to pages, I usually like to take masking tape, and this one's not quite a spread, but I just like to tape the seam. Couple reasons. I tend to work very thick, meaning my pages will get very thick and this becomes very bulky, and I always feel like this just secures everything. It also stops seeping. Like if I'm doing something really wet here, it'll stop it from seeping through. Again, this is not a regular page because it is just the beginning with it's not really a spread, but I will still start off by doing that, and that little piece of tape was just left over, so I thought probably needed to go there. All right, so when I come back, we'll start prepping the page with gesso. Inspiration Wednesday before, this will not be new to you, but I usually gesso my pages. Number one, I always come to this blank. I don't really know what I'm doing. Gesso buys me some time. It's forward motion, but it also prepares my pages for the mediums I might put on. And typically I use acrylic media, which gesso is the primer for acrylics. So it makes my pages a nice thick and primed and ready to go. It also gives me a nice clean slate, and it probably again doesn't matter on the first page because it's all very clean, but as we get into the later pages, you'll have marks, you'll have drips, you'll have splatters and stuff from the stuff you've done before. All that is good, but sometimes it's just nice to have a clean page to start with. And you'll see I usually use these bulldog clips just to keep my pages down as I'm working. Some people also don't put their inclusion in until later. They say it's too bulky. Some people work in the inclusion separate, so it's just really up to you. I have some people not working in Inspiration Journal whatsoever, and that is absolutely okay too. And if you want to learn more about why an Inspiration Journal versus just a regular journal, I do have a video that talks about the reason for the Inspiration Journal. All right, I'll continue to gesso this. I'm going to gesso the front side when this is dry, and then we'll get ready to do some artwork on here. All right, so usually I like my first page to be a statement page. What are we going to see? What is this about? So I always like to put some kind of art or something that suggests, okay, this is what we're going into. So clearly, paintbrushes in a jar, that is going to suggest that. You can use any stencil you want. You can just use texture that you want to make without using a stencil as well. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use some light modeling paste. Now, I use the light modeling paste for a couple reasons. It dries quicker, and it's a little fluffier. So I like that look instead of that heavy caked on. And I always screw up my stencils, so don't be surprised when I overload, because I tend to just overdo everything. So I'm just going to take that onto a part that is not stencil, just so I can move it onto. Like I said, I tend to want this super thick and 3D. I usually have to reel myself in, but I will say this is pretty flat since it's the first lesson. So I'll just keep doing that, and after I get this on, I'll come back and we'll see if it worked. All right, so this isn't dry yet, but I got another idea. I was gonna do something else, but then I thought I really want words, because I was talking to you about putting that message in there, and I'm thinking, so this stencil art is in the ability to see, to be a passionate witness to the colors of life, to listen intuitively to your inner voice, and to paint freely the vibrancy of the everyday emotion, then leave it on the canvas. By the way, that's a quote by me. And I'm going to put it so it wraps around. So part of it will be here, and then the other part will be over here. I kind of like that idea. Usually I put the date on this part, but let's go crazy this time. Maybe I still will put the date on it. Just because it's there doesn't mean it has to be the focal point. So let's just see. So I always like to keep the first page fairly simple. So a simple glaze on this would really just make me happy. But then and that still might make me happy. But then I was like, what about one of my old paintbrushes? What if I overlapped and I wish I had my rustic wire, that rusty wire anyway. This is all I had. And what if I put 2 holes in there and wrapped it through and then had that in there? That just might make me squeak with excitement. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to glaze over this. I don't know if it's totally dry yet. Only one way to find out, right? Looks like it might need a couple more minutes. I'll probably glaze over this. I have to decide what color. And then I think I might just have to, just because. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to come back with the glaze color. I have no idea what color I want to go with. And then I'll be back where the decisions start coming in. So I'm kind of I put some cobalt turquoise actually over here. Do I want to just paint over this and see what I get? Maybe I'll spray some water on it. Let's just see what do I get. And then maybe I can glaze over it. Maybe I'm not painting the whole thing exactly. Maybe baby wipe here. I don't know. I want to add some color, but I don't want to add too much color. Just a little hint. Give it some depth. I kind of like that. I mean, that's kind of fun, and then maybe it kind of fades over here. Anyway, I think I'm just going to play around with a couple minutes just to see if this is enough color. Do I want more color? Do I want less color? I do like that sticking out, kind of shadowed. Maybe I'll put a little bit more over there. And I'm not putting anything in my paint. It's just fluid acrylic, and then I'm taking the baby wipe to it. So it's no glaze or anything like that yet. I like it picking up a strong shadow. Kind of pushes it back a little bit. I might have gone too far. That happens. I might need to come baby wipe. raw umber now and glaze on top of this. And I'm going to add glaze to this one. Glaze will just really make your color transparent. Does keep it wet for a smidgen longer, but I'm hoping this will just a very faint kind of grunge to it. Let's see. Mixing it on my palette. You probably can't see, sorry. I just put it right on top of each other on my palette. The more glaze you add, the more transparent it'll be. It'll only catch typically on any textures. So, I mean, you can put it here. There's some tape there. It might catch on. And you let it sit for about a minute and get it in all the nooks. And then you should be able to wipe it back. I'm going to do it sloppy. Nothing precise. And plus the baby wipe, when you're wiping it back, will actually pick up the color and you can blend it with the baby wipe. And if you're not getting enough color off, just get a clean side of the baby wipe and that should help. Ooh, that's kind of cool how it's stamped with it. Alright, so let's go through here and loosen it up. If I switch to a clean baby wipe, I should be able to get almost all of it off even at this point. I'm just loosening it up. And then I can come back, and you don't have to do it this way, but that's what I do, is take one baby wipe, loosen it all up, and then I'll take a clean one and kind of get everything off that I don't want there. Got some weird lines sticking in there. I tend to love the grunge, and then I wipe away so much, so I'm trying to keep a little bit more, but yeah, I tend to like it. Oh, what? Look, I got some of it on the cover. That's cool. Ooh, that's good. I feel like that's a good amount of grunge. I like that. I'd like to get some of this off. Let's see if I still can. I don't think I will. I don't know why. Oh well. Maybe just not enough glaze there. I can always... Alright, so I put in a little gesso here. I don't really like that brown in there, so I can always take some of that. Push it back. Just a little gesso. And I can always go over it if I want, but those lines right there, they're kind of distracting me. Lord knows we don't want that. I really like that staining. So, what do I want to do with this? So I had that idea of like just putting the paintbrush on there, but now it kind of blends in. But I did cut. So I took this to my typewriter and it says Inspiration Wednesday 2017. And I had this thought of maybe putting it onto the paintbrush as my kind of title. Excuse me. Alright, so I think I'm deciding to go with my initial gut reaction. So I trimmed this down a little bit. I've got some fluid matte medium here that is sealed shut. There we go. And I'm going to decoupage this onto the brush. I don't think there's a better side than the other. So I'm just going to put a little matte medium on there. And then I'm going to, I probably should matte medium that too, just to be safe. I've got it all over myself now, so we're definitely safe. All right, so just out of curiosity, because that's really bold on there. See, just out of curiosity, if I can't tint that a little bit. So Distress ink is like watercolor. I thought maybe I could get this to blend in. Just have a little water on my brush, and I thought, oh, let's see. So ideally, I would have used the rustic wire that I sell at the studio, but I apparently don't have any here, and that kind of stresses me. But I think I'm going to take this copper wire, and I'm going to string it right around here and tie it so it looks like it's in the jar. So I'm just going to go get some kind of pokey tool. I'll be back. All right, pokey tool in hand. I was thinking of tying it right around here. We'll see. And in the back of the page, yes, there will be wire, and I don't care. No, that's pretty secure. I think I'm just gonna put some E6000 underneath here. I mean, it probably doesn't need it, but maybe over the long haul. E6000 is just super duper. Holds heavyweight things down. Not that this is heavy, but it is 3-dimensional, so. And that'll take a few minutes to set, and I'll be back. So first, Wednesday of 2017. Gotta change my date stamp. That's always exciting. All right, January 4th. Ink pad. Gotta put a brown hole on it, otherwise it didn't really happen. Look at that, 2017. Bring it on. Let's tear that. Get my gold stapler. I think he just has to go here. I think he just needs to go right over. I do like hang. I'll let him hang off a little bit. Ooh. Gotta have 3. Oh, can't do that one. That one's wonky. Can't have a wonky staple on the first one. Or can we? Okay. Try it again. Ah, better. All right, that is it. So really what the takeaway is you can put any dimensional layer underneath. We're gonna glaze. One layer I didn't glaze, it just is really quick. The next layer I did. You can use any colors you want. And the idea of having the media that I was gonna be using this year, like paintbrushes or something, and a nice quote, it's kind of how I like to start it off, but the paintbrush came secondary, and I love that that introduces it with that paintbrush and the title on there. So, like I said, if I were at the studio, I would have used that rustic wire and it would have totally blended in, and it would have looked like the stripes. And you see, I tried to make a little bit of the stripes looking like it was in the glass, even though obviously it's not. But I really like that. I like the whole 3-dimensional thing, and I like that this overlaps a little bit. Just kind of tells a nice little story. The quote, the date, the brush, and like the background underneath. I kind of like when it's closed, you kind of have a little snapshot of what we're gonna do this year. All right, well that's it. Hope you have an amazing first start to Inspiration Wednesday. Don't forget to post your images because I love to see them. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me.